How, somebody please tell me how Cobra Kai still keeps doing the same goddamn thing every single time, and it somehow still captures our attention and demands viewing,
Yes.
and just we need to see more. How does it do this? It's a special kind of special, this show. I think, Janine, 6 episodes. This is part 2 of season 6 of Cobra Kai. Part 3, I believe, is coming in February
next year. Yeah,
which is crazy. I mean, look, we'll be back with another Cobra Kai live stream for that, won't we? But if you are here popping in the live chat today, it's always fun to do these for Cobra Kai. They only come around once every now and again these days. Do say hello. Do let us know what you think if you have, of course, fully caught up on Cobra Kai for this part 2, 5 episodes in the middle of season 6 of Cobra Kai. The Barcelona episodes. I'm calling this live stream the Brawl of Barcelona, Janine, because, well, it culminates in a brawl in Barcelona, and the entire 5 episodes seem to be brawling in Barcelona at the Sakai Taikai.
Yeah.
I mean, what do we think about what's going on? Are we as annoyed at me? I mean, look at my little caption.
Your favorite guy found a way to come back.
I remember being so utterly delighted at the end of one of these. You know what? I can't even remember when Terry Silver was carted off by the police. Was it at the end of the first part of season 6?
Yes, it was.
Was it right before they all went to Barcelona?
Yes, so that all
happened.
So
what you're actually now telling me is that I should be more annoyed because it's taken not 2 episodes to go without Terry Silver for him to become crawling back into the show for no reason whatsoever. I was so excited. I was so happy to see him got rid of. We could move on and go to Barcelona. It would all be about Kreese again. But no. It can't all be about Kreese, can it?
It's got to be about. But now there's conflict between the two of them, so that just.
But there always has been. Oh God.
I know, but it's like. It's a focused conflict because it's like they were kind of a team for a minute and then they kind of went their separate ways as Silver took over on Kreese. So now Kreese gets the opportunity to really retaliate for that. So yeah, we are constantly going back to the same wells of things, but somehow they managed to keep us really still invested, which we do get some character conflicts happening that are very familiar. But I think at this point in how the characters handle them, there's a bit of growth. There's a bit of maturity.
There should be a bit of growth after 6 seasons of doing the same backwards and forwards every damn time.
But I'm like, I really like especially how characters handled Tori's switch to the other team. So obviously, Tori,
is this her 3rd, 4th, or 17th?
This must be like her 3rd time going back to Cobra Kai, and reluctantly going back to Cobra Kai. But I think they established a really solid reason for her doing it. And ultimately, how people I think react to it is very mature and very different from how they would have handled it before. I think I appreciate how Sam reacts to this situation. While she does kind of have her grievances with it, I like that it comes from a place of, well, you know, it hurt more than anything because I thought we were actually friends now. And like me and Robbie could have been there for you, but you didn't want that. You chose this choice, and I don't want to take away, you know, you really kind of living in your choice, and I don't want to take that away from you, but I generally am telling you that what hurt me the most about it was that we were friends. So I respect your choice. I respect that you need to do what you need to do. I'm sorry about what happened to your mom, but once we hit that mat, like it's gonna just have to be what it is. So I like Sam's mature handling of it, not just jumping off the cuff and getting upset and calling her a traitor and all of these kinds of things, which is where Sam, I think, would have gone in the past. And even Robbie giving her space and that kind of thing. and the whole team not kind of just going against her. They're more worried about her than anything else. So I appreciate that that was the mature reaction from everybody, as opposed to everyone just calling her a traitor.
Well, I don't necessarily disagree with that, but it seems like the same. Oh, let's try and understand her, but ultimately not, and then ultimately do, that we've had before. It's just in different contexts each
Well,
time.
I mean, this time she only went to it because she wanted to be captain and she knew that's where she could be captain. So this is literally the only reason she's there.
I don't understand what's so special about these captains. They were made a big deal of before we got to Barcelona, and as soon as we're in Barcelona, everybody's just the same anyway.
Well, I think that once the team wins, the captain will get all these opportunities
Why won't the rest of the team? I don't
because
understand this.
because they focus on the captains. They focus on the captains. The captains are, won their spot because they're potentially the best fighters on their team. They'll get, the sponsorships and all of that kind of thing. It's this incentive. So it was the incentive going into people competing for these spots in the first place. So they can only probably pick 2 people to be in this campaign, not the whole team to be in the campaign. They need the faces of the campaign. So that is kind of the bonus thing for the captains, is they get to be the face of their dojo for campaigns, for opportunities and things. And that is why Miguel is so upset about it, because he could have used this as part of his kind of whole college acceptance and all of these kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, but surely we should be um, allowing allowing karate champions sponsorship based on merit and quality of performance in said Sakai Taikai tournament, and Robbie's putting on a right terrible performance at the moment.
Yes. I mean,
So
because of Tori.
whatever Miyagi-Do end up doing, why should he get all the credit?
That was the deal that was made going into the situation. So that is the deal that has
Mm,
to be gone with. If those
I'm not
people wanted
happy
the
about that.
opportunity, then they should have done what they needed to do to get the captain spot.
I
Um,
mean, they tried doing what they had to do to get on the team to begin with, and look where that got them,
yeah,
Devon.
I know. So yeah, I mean, it was such a coveted position that somebody drugged somebody to get to try to get it. Um, but yeah, I mean, Robbie obviously very upset about Tori and her kind of putting their relationship on pause, and him not knowing where they stand, her not being able to confide in him and take his support, all of that really affecting him. Also, I like that he mentions that what's also affecting him is that he doesn't feel like it's affecting her, that she can still fight, she can still do what she
Yeah.
needs to do. She doesn't seem upset about it at all. And obviously, her teammate is also kind of egging on and making Robbie think there's something going on between the two of them. So all of that is playing into his head, and he's just not fighting at his best. And he's really just letting the team down. And it's pissing off Miguel, because Miguel was like, you got to be captain, and now you're just wasting it and sucking and not leading us, and you're losing and you're getting in your own head. So,
Well, look,
yeah.
I mean, with the Tory and Robbie dynamic, Tory's always been somebody who's able to, I suppose, ice up, as I would kind
Hmm.
of phrase it as, and show virtually no emotion, even when she is at her most emotionally vulnerable. And
Yeah.
if she's doing something, she won't be emotional. It's when she
Yeah.
takes time and sits down for a quiet moment where she'll get emotional.
And actually
Robbie's the
think about
complete
it.
opposite. He gets
Yes.
emotional on the mat. He gets
Yes.
emotional while fighting, and then doesn't seem to care when he's not.
Yeah. Tori
It's
can
the total
channel.
opposite.
Yeah, Tori can channel. I think we've seen a lot of scenes and training with her where people have told her to channel all of the pain and frustration and things she feels into her fighting. So she's really able to compartmentalize that and channel whatever she's feeling into making her a stronger fighter, like the sad, the anger, everything. She can direct it
Yeah.
into her skill set. And so just kind of seeing her being able to fight um, makes Robbie feel like she maybe doesn't care as much as he does, and so that is also kind of just getting in his head about it, as well, and he's just not fighting at his best, and it's causing friction between him and Miguel, because Miguel thinks he's wasting the opportunity that he really wanted.
I mean, it
So
is a very friction-filled 5 episodes, and
yes.
I like the 5 episodes themselves because look, we're finally away from Southern California for
Yes.
once,
The
aren't
valley.
we? I
We're
mean,
out of the valley.
or the valley. We spent a little bit of time in Mexico when Miguel was trying to find his dad, but that took
Hmm.
2 episodes, 1 episode,
Yeah.
even something like that. Um, but we're entirely in Barcelona, and to begin part 3, the grand finale of Cobra Kai season 6, part 3, we'll have to start in Barcelona with the fallout of what happens at the end of this part 2.
Yeah.
Right, won't we? We'll have to start there. So the fact we're spending a
Yeah.
lot of time somewhere else, it gives us a bit of something fresh. It gives us a bit. There's new dynamics going on because there's so many random karate teams going on. There's one new, very, very evil karate
Yeah.
team who we thought was new, and I was like, oh, a new evil karate team. This is nice to throw in right at the end of the
Yeah.
show.
I was thinking
But
that too. And
I'm actually quite refreshed. But then no, 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 no. 2
they
episodes later,
some
who's
ties and
behind it?
connection
Terry
to
goddamn Silver.
yes, yes. But generally still, it's nice to see kind of rivalries with new blood of characters and them
It
kind
is.
of be in the mix beyond just Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do back and forth. So I like that this I think they're what, Iron Fist, is that what their name is? With their
I
team?
don't know what they're
Like
called, to be honest with you. I don't know what the Iron Eagle they could be called. I really don't know.
but
Eagle
I
Fang, Iron Fist, Iron Eagle, Fist Fang,
oh my
um,
but I do like it, a new
Eagle Cobra.
dynamic. I do like a new team kind of coming in and um having an antagonistic relationship. There's also a really interesting thing happening with Sam and the Axel guy who's that team's captain.
There
Um
is, yeah. I liked that, admittedly, because he is somebody that is abused, quite frankly, by his team, certainly by his coach.
yeah, played by
Um,
martial artist and actor and man from Manchester, Lewis Tan.
I
Um
didn't know he was from Manchester, admittedly, but that's
yeah,
nice
yeah.
to see, isn't it?
Yes, it was nice to
Um,
see him. He's kind of a well-known actor in kind of martial arts stuff and was in the most recent Mortal Kombat film and that kind of stuff. So,
okay.
yeah. But yeah, so good to see him kind of be that person, but he's this kind of dictator leader who's under Terry Silver. And he kind of tortures this kid who's his captain. And Sam is walking by and sees a training session where he's really just going in on him, and she hears one of her teammates make a comment about him being evil. And yes, Iron Dragons. Thank you.
Yes, oh, Dio Karen in the chat, Iron
Yes.
Dragons is their name. It's always one combination of stupid mythical words,
Yes.
isn't it? Thank you very much. The Iron Dragons.
Yes. And so Sam does see him getting abused by his sensei, and she hears her teammate kind of say something about him and say, don't judge him like that. You don't know that what he's been through. So she kind of sticks up for him, silently sticks up for him in this moment. And uh, a bit of a bond forms, which will cause problems going forward. So,
Oh, I
um,
absolutely will. I feel like we must put this chat on the screen. Aubrey James. Terry Silver is one of the greatest villains in movie and TV history. I am like to agree with you, to be perfectly honest with
because
you,
he gets
because
under your skin so very much.
there has never been, I don't think, a villain in movie and TV history that has annoyed me as much as Terry Silver does.
Yeah, so he's doing his job. He's definitely doing
He's
his
doing
job.
his
And
job.
the callback to the hot tub with the cigar and all of that
Oh
to when we first
right.
saw him
Oh
and
god. You know what I was half expecting? I was half expecting a shot when they all, because all the adults, we should say,
Mhm.
Johnny, Daniel, Chosen, Crease, even, and Crease's other lady who's on Cobra Kai, I don't know, forget her name.
Yes.
Um, They all go, don't they? They all go into Terry Silver's hot tub room.
Yeah, because there's all kind of like they're trying to understand what's happening. Um,
I was
yeah.
definitely expecting one shot in that particular scene of Terry Silver getting up out of the hot tub, and then we see that he was naked.
Oh no, I don't think they would have taken it. I would
No,
hope.
I'm not saying like we need full frontal Terry Silver. I'm just
It is
saying like we
Netflix,
get a
so that
back shot, Kim. Thank you.
yes.
We get a back shot. Just to Terry Silver likes power plays, doesn't he? He likes showing that he's in charge of every given
Yes,
situation.
yes.
What I didn't like about Terry Silver's whole thing, though, was how easily he was able to come back into the fold after being carted
Yeah,
off.
just like a
I
little
mean, that
line
was
of
it
dialogue.
was just stupid. It was one line of dialogue. Apparently, he's on, in some sort of weird cage fighting arena in Thailand, and his lawyer turns up in Bangkok because obviously, oh yeah, it's all right, Terry. You've been, they've dropped the case on you. How have they dropped the case on you? Stingray was a poor witness.
Yeah.
So that's enough now to drop that, is it?
Yes,
That
like
just
he
the
even
fact
tried
that
to send
Stingray.
I think he tried to send like the glasses kid to like, testify in his place or
uh,
something. He said,
oh, it's
yeah.
just it
But he
it
lost a lot of his
gripes me.
money. But he lost a lot of his money putting it in all the Cobra Kai dojos and all of that stuff.
Yes, he did.
So he's kind of struggling financially, and so he's watching Louis Tan fight, and he makes a deal with him to um, buy his dojo, get his dojo back, and have them compete and win, and then he'll sign the dojo back over to him. So then we learn that yes, the Iron Dragons are in Terry Silver's pocket for the moment, and that is how he ingratiates himself to be there in Barcelona in the tournament as well. So then our three are against.
But it is all out of pure spite for Kreese, Dan, and
Mhm.
Daniel and Johnny.
Yes.
Like why? Why is he still doing it? I don't understand why Terry Silver's still obsessed. Terry Silver calls out their obsession with each other so much. Oh, you need to get over this silly rivalry that you all have and
Yeah.
accept that Cobra Kai is one and all and the best dojo ever.
But
And then he's
Kim
the
and
one that's obsessed with everybody else.
but Kim and I like her just being like, I'm focused on the fighting. You guys need to get over this dumb shit that happened years ago. Like, get over it. Like,
I agree.
I'm very much her
I agree
mentality,
with
but they
Aubrey. I agree with Aubrey in the chat. I really liked it when he flipped. This was Kenny who gets back
yes.
involved when he flipped off Terry Silver.
Yes, and
Yes,
even the
I
team is
liked that as well.
yes, and the team is kind of thinking that Kenny might potentially be a mole and working with Terry, and so when he kind of comes in with this fight and proves that he's not, and he ultimately flips him off because Silver comes to him and talks to him and tries
he
to kind of
does, yeah.
turn him against the team again. Look what they did to you. Look how they treated you. Blah 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 blah. But again, our characters have finally grown and matured. Kenny definitely has grown and matured and is able to handle these situations better. How he talks to Devin about what she did. Him and Daniel's son really kind of making amends as well. So yeah, I think everyone handling the tiffs and having a resolution amongst our team was what I needed, because that's always the frustrating part when there's so much infighting within Cobra Kai that is screwing up their fighting, and it just it's so frustrating.
I mean, look, Kenny and Anthony end up making amends through force, really, not through actual desire to. But I do like that Kenny's given this rightful chance to come to Barcelona and essentially take Devon's place eventually, because Devon realizes obviously she was cheating. She doesn't feel like she belongs there.
No, because she's not fighting great, and she's been feeling this immense heavy guilt the whole time as well,
which is right. It's reasonable. It's understandable. you don't even you don't dislike Devon for doing this because you realise she's come to her senses with it all, really, and Kenny has now come across to actually get this chance. Aubrey also says Dimitri and Hawk annoyed me. I mean, they are battling with each other rather unnecessarily, aren't they?
Yes, over the MIT situation, and so it's kind of causing a little strife between the two of them, and constant back and forths, and even causing them to mess up each other in fighting, and then they, when there's a situation where they need to tag each other in, the communication is off, and so they
Yeah.
don't tag the right person in, and yeah, it's all very messy, all over just this silly kind of college thing. But ultimately, I love how they come back together at the end, and Chosen is like, "But the binary brothers are back," and this really cool technique they use to tire out this one fighter and not let him tag out. So
Yeah.
obviously, a very impressive fighter. What can we do? We can just constantly tag out and not let him tag out and just wear him down. And so the fact that it's the two of them back and forth working together finally, um, and I believe kind of Kenny comes in as well and helps kind of take down this guy, and it's this
Yeah.
really cool teamwork situation to take out somebody in the tournament. And this is ultimately how they get Cobra Kai out of the tournament completely. So
Well, supposedly.
supposedly, of course,
Um,
as this show
but
works.
no,
But yes, I mean, very annoying them kind of having this, and they weren't even like upset at each other about anything really substantial, which was just annoying.
no.
So the fact that once they kind of come together and work together, I think they had them come back together in a really fun way in terms of being able to get this big win for Miyagi-Do.
I enjoy how, I suppose we'll kind of wrap up a bit of a discussion on the kids aspect of the whole thing before, because the adults thing interested me way more in
Okay.
these 5 episodes than the kids constant infighting all the time. I enjoy where the fighters of Miyagi-Do end this 5 episodes, because they end it in a very positive place with each other
Yeah.
and with a very unified mindset, the
Yeah.
most unified mindset we've ever seen from all of them,
Yeah.
and even Tori on Cobra Kai gets a little bit by the end of these 5
Mhm.
episodes, is definitely because to an extent, Kreese by the end of these 5 episodes has come back around to being like, oh, hang on, there's somebody bigger than me again, which is obviously
Yeah.
Terry.
Yes.
So look, it's always been about taking down Terry Silver, right? That's
Yeah.
been the whole point, but that's been the whole point for 3 seasons of Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Find a interesting, a
why?
better way to kind of
Find a better way of doing it. I
yeah,
like that
of
I
revisiting
like
that
that
well.
the 5 episodes ends that way, but find a better way of doing it. I mean, I am so unbelievably glad this show is coming to an end,
Yeah.
because I didn't want it to get any more horrifically convoluted. I thought, the first Terry Silver season, if it had ended on that with a grand finale feel,
Mhm.
then it would have been perfect. But then as soon as we got to the Terry Silver level and we started rehashing everything
All of
again,
that again. Yeah.
that's when it obviously hasn't lost me, because we're here doing this, and it can never lose me, and that's the fascinating thing about this show, right?
Yeah.
We will. There's a couple of chats that I'd like to put
Yeah.
up, because
Yes.
I will be talking about some of those things. One also that really did make me feel rather uncomfortable, although interesting thematically, but uncomfortable in a technical standpoint. But another one from Aubrey says, I think they should have killed off one of the main characters, not some random character that just came into the season. Eddie Kwan. barely got any screen time. This is, of course, in reference to the very end of
Of what happens
the
after
fifth
these.
episode,
Yes.
which is the Brawl of Barcelona. It is where there's managed fights going on, and then it just gets out of hand because people do
Well,
slightly over
no,
the top things.
the Russian team, I think they got kicked out for, using performance enhancing drugs.
They did,
They
yes.
were pissed off at their disqualification, so the sensei of that team comes out, punches the guy in charge of the tournament, and
Yes.
all hell breaks loose, and so everyone just starts fighting everyone, and it's a big brawl and crazy. So all of
Why
these
that
teams,
happens, I've no idea.
well, because I think the Russian team kind of calls for a fight and then just kind of starts
Again,
everything. And we get the other teams. I think we established that the Irish, because it's Cobra Kai. Like, what? Stop asking these ridiculous hypothetical questions. Like, you don't know that that's what's going to happen. We always get these ridiculous brawls. Since season 1, that is just the theme of this show. But the Russian team is what instigates it, and I think even when they were having the fights with the Irish team, they established that they just like to start fights generally.
I'd like to
Start
point
like
out. I'd like to please point
so
out the
they are
Irish
kind of the
team.
first ones that are like gung ho for this big kind of fight, and then it turns into anyone just kind of defending themselves against these attacks coming at them, and it turns into
I
your
guess.
traditional
Okay.
Cobra Kai brawl. But of course, it's the Russians that started.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean,
As if we didn't need any more references to Rocky this season.
Yes, or
Yeah.
horrific stereotyping. I mean, let's stereotype the Russians for using performance
And the
enhancing
Irish.
drugs. And let's stereotype the Irish for fighting with everybody. And then also, when one of the Irish fighters actually gets a line, it's the most horrific Irish accent you've ever heard anybody in any show ever speak in. Clearly, this person's from somewhere in the US trying to do some sort of ridiculous leprechaun impression. I mean, it's absolutely absurd.
But I mean, I think if you were going to have a brawl in this show, I think a brawl on this stage and it's happening on live TV is a good way to up the ante on a thing that is a common expected thing in this show.
Absolutely, it is. It's a stunningly choreographed fight scene, really,
Yes.
isn't it? It's crazy. It's absolutely chaotic. Again, we haven't seen a brawl on this scale, on this level at all. And we certainly haven't seen a fight with as much consequence as this one does. I think even, okay, the one at the school, obviously, where Miguel's back gets broken and, he's ends up in the wheelchair was very, very significant, right? And that was obviously a long time ago in the show now. But we're as Aubrey's chat said, we are looking at a character, not a major character. I mean, Aubrey thinks a major character should have died. I don't necessarily disagree with that aspect either.
Impactful, but I mean, I think they gave that character enough of a presence that
I think they did. He was constantly very bothersome
and antagonistic, causing Robbie to think something was happening with him and Tori, all in everyone's faces. Robbie had the whole kind of highest kick challenge with him. Him kind of talking back to Kim.
Robbie also went off with that Spanish
Zara. Yes, Zara, who kind of had a crush on him, and he was kind of moping after he got the impression that something was happening between Tori and him.
The karate influencer.
Yes, he starts drinking, and so she kind of manipulates that situation of him being incredibly drunk because he doesn't even remember what happened. But yeah, I think he was enough of a presence that him dying was probably more impactful than anybody else who wasn't a main character dying.
Yeah, it was a great choice of character to die in that instance. And obviously I love that I keep wanting to call it the season, the part of the season
The part of the season,
ends
yeah.
ends there with the chairman of the Sekai Taikai just saying cut the feed, and then the show ends.
Yes,
But
because
until
obviously
February,
somebody just died on live
somebody died.
television.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at the world's biggest karate tournament that's supposed to be all about, martial arts and togetherness and the greatest martial
Yeah.
artists in the world, not absolute carnage, chaos, and child death.
Yes, and yeah, the fact that it was one of the students, not an adult, and it's done with Kreese's weapon. So why did he have a weapon there?
Yeah,
So that's going to be an implication of things. The whole brawl itself was on live TV, so it just speaks to kind of the professionalism of this event, and how easily things could get out of hand. And then I think just looming in your mind is the fact that. Daniel finds out that Miyagi killed his opponent in the tournament, so that
I mean
speaks to kind of
this.
the old ways of
Yeah,
the tournament. And I think Dio Karen mentioned the deep fake of Miyagi
yes,
as well.
this is what
In
I'd like
Daniel's
to get
dream.
into. I'd
Yeah.
like to get into now because Daniel's stuff and finding more details about Miyagi himself is the most interesting thing of these
Yeah.
5 episodes to me. To actually find out that Miyagi was that of a brutal fighter when he was in, to find out he went to the Sekai Taikai in the first place, when we
Yeah.
found that out,
Yeah.
was a revelation. It was like, oh, I thought Miyagi was, against all this fighting and
Yes, and
tournaments and
even
all this
like in
kind of talk.
3, his whole thing that, Daniel goes against him is because he doesn't want to have him be in tournaments anymore.
Yeah. And it's been Daniel's life for God knows how long, obviously. I
Yeah.
mean, Daniel's constantly obsessed with Miyagi's legacy.
Yeah.
So to have this spanner thrown at him and then to get to Barcelona, to be, goaded into this back alley dungeon place where what ends up being Terry Silver's cronies get him, and trap him in a cage with a dog.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that was a bit intense. I thought they were actually going to turn up with torture scenes in Cobra Kai for 1 second.
Yeah, I mean, and Daniel having to get out of the situation, which also I do like that we get setups of situations for different characters to have fights. So I liked, okay, we get a little scene where Daniel can do a little bit of fighting on his own,
Yeah,
in a situation that makes sense outside of the tournament stuff, for him fighting um uh Johnny or something. So yeah, definitely an interesting part of the story, kind of giving him this false information about Miyagi, preying on his obsession with trying to find the truth in that. But then
yeah,
him actually, Terry Silver, giving him an answer, and he only giving him this answer because he knows it's something that will mess with his head, that it's
yeah.
a true bit of something he wanted to know, but Silver knows that him knowing it will mess with him.
The fact
So
it does kind of it knocks you
it
watching
gives
it
him that
down
crazy
a little
dream
bit.
where we do get this deep fake of Miyagi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that Miyagi, I mean, just think about it in outside of context of Daniel thinking about it, right? The fact that Miyagi killed his opponent
Yes.
in tournament fighting is Ivan, speaking of Rocky 4, is Ivan Drago behavior from Miyagi.
Yeah,
It
and I think so, but then you can think of
is
who we
insane.
know him to be as, this character, and think that this is probably what made him end up taking this more peaceful stance.
Of
I think
course it
Daniel does
is.
mention that this tournament happened after the loss of his wife and child, so you can
Yeah,
imagine what kind of dark place he was in this moment.
yeah.
So he would be in the mindset to just want to take it out on everything and everyone
It's
in this
it's where you get
tournament
this
fashion.
insane dream.
Yes, and so, yeah, he gets this really kind of intense dream where he does see Mr. Miyagi's face. Like, did you feel okay with the use of seeing him in that kind of
I
situation? Because it's always
I
a
will be
very
honest with you.
complicated thing.
I was really enjoying this dream, of Daniel being in, the 40s, 50s, early 50s, whenever it was
Mhm.
when Miyagi was in the tournament.
And even
and
opening the show with
fighting.
this, like, old movie kind of real.
Yes, and fighting
Mhm,
the young Miyagi in it within his
mhm,
dream, and actually being able to speak to him, and
mhm.
Miyagi obviously knowing who Daniel was, but in his younger form,
Yeah,
and it being this very, very difficult thing for Daniel to realize,
yeah.
and Daniel to kind of overcome, I
Mhm.
suppose, in that way. Everything he knew about Miyagi is just the complete opposite in
Yeah.
this physical depiction of Miyagi at this tournament here. Really, really liked that. I liked the young Miyagi. I liked the casting of the young Miyagi in that sense.
Yeah.
Thought
Mhm.
that felt really nice. Um, you know, throwing his own words back against Daniel is like, what are you
Mhm.
talking about? Peaceful nonsense and all this smack, smack,
Yeah.
smack, batter, 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 and all that. And then it ruins it by turning into a ridiculous video game Pat Morita
Yeah,
face.
and it's like, if you are gonna do things like that, then don't make them speak. Like, even if, like,
No,
even
it
if he had
looked so
if he
bad.
had if he had kicked him down, he has his foot on him, and is we're having this up look shot, and then all of a sudden, he blinks and it turns into Pat Morita's face quickly, and then the flash is gone. Good, but to have
Yeah.
him speak and emote and that whole kind of thing, that's what just made it look like so off and wrong and weird. And but
I mean,
I got what they were going for. I wish they, like, wouldn't have had him speak. Just show the image of him
yeah.
and then cut away. And I
I
think
mean,
that would have been strong enough for Daniel to still have the same kind of emotional reaction waking up from that.
absolutely. You've just got to be careful with it. You've just got to
Yeah.
make it, number one, not look totally disrespectful, and number two, just like if he's not going to be, if it is respectful, at least make it look technically good. And it does
Yes.
none of those things.
Yeah.
It looks technically poor and comes across as disrespectful. I think because it's technically poor.
Yes, yeah, I agree. I think they definitely could have just left it him not speaking, but once it starts to move, it's like it looks like a filter.
Like this
Yeah.
entire show has been great for the
Mhm.
legacy of Pat Morita and the
Yeah.
character of Mr. Miyagi. And then that's ruined it. Justin Square's in the chat. Hello, Justin Square. How are you?
Oh,
Let's
hey. Oh, he
put his
hasn't
chat
watched the
up.
last episode yet, so we don't wanna.
Oh no, well, yeah, yes, please. We appreciate you coming in to say hi. We know how
Yes.
much you enjoyed this. We hope you come back and watch our full discussion, but you have watched that final
And of
episode.
course, he's torturing
Of
you with his
course.
love of Terry Silver.
Yes,
Best fist
we've
bump
already
with that
had
person.
our discussions on Terry Silver. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
Um, Thanks for dropping in. We appreciate that. But no, I didn't like that, and it was the most fascinating thing about this whole 5 parts for me was Daniel finally coming to full realization that
Yeah.
he didn't know. I mean, it feels like Harry Potter and Dumbledore, doesn't it? You
Yeah.
have an image of somebody who is your hero, and then you realize that they've actually done plenty of bad
Yes,
things in
that
their
they're
life.
human and they're not perfect or idealized, and you have to kind of come to terms with that in judging them in a lot of weird ways. So yeah, I like that. That's a struggle that Daniel has. It's a more um, interesting, I think, story than the kind of bickering that we get constantly from the other adult
Way more.
characters and the kid characters. So I like that we get a little bit of complexity with one of the storylines as opposed to kind of the back and forth stuff.
Yeah.
Aubrey did mention earlier in the chat the kind of rocky training montage
Yeah.
when our Miyagi-Do team finally gets on common ground, when I think, Miguel and Robbie have the conversation about being a leader and standing up and, kind of getting their shit together. So that was really good to see. Yeah, because it was just a constant frustration the whole kind of first half, seeing them just lose and mess up and not communicate well and just be completely defeated, and then kind of being against Johnny, and then Daniel's not there because he's in a dog cage, and so them really turning on Johnny and him not really doing his part as a sensei and constantly fighting Daniel. Because I think Daniel is like, we're together in this. And he's like, no, we are here standing next to each other. So Johnny kind of
for
coming in.
some reason, Johnny's still like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
he
thank
still
God
is
he
just not.
comes again to the realization
Yeah.
that it doesn't have to be like that. And look, it takes another slightly odd story point, I think, from Johnny to realize, I don't want to say the error of his ways, but to realize that what's important in life is togetherness. I mean, I don't really know why they threw
Why it's
such a
taking him so long
serious
again
story
to,
point.
well, because it was a nod to, I believe, what, Rocky 2, when, you know, there's complications with Adrian's pregnancy, and
Is
then
it
they have
just
the
all
baby,
supposed to
and
be
then
about Rocky this now? I mean,
what does she tell Rocky to do for her at the end of that after she has the baby?
yeah.
It's pretty shot for shot kind of remake
It's
of that ending. But yeah, for that to, because Johnny has already seen that combining Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do, both those styles, works. It's an interesting
works
thing and a
well.
mix. So the fact that he's like, why are we just doing things Daniel's way? This sucks kind of
We're
mentality.
not, Johnny.
So then when he actually sees Miyagi-Do working, then he's like, oh yeah, do that. Do more of that. Like, you know that Miyagi-Do works. So yeah, it's just fabricated conflict. So when the conflicts feel like they made sense, where they felt like, okay, maybe they're trying to give us a reasoning that's different than the last time these people were fighting, I was okay with it. I was into it. I was like, okay. And when the characters kind of show maturity within these conflicts, okay, I get it. Tori's going through a lot. She wants to be captain so she can have a thing now that she has nothing. I get why she went to the other team. Sam handles it pretty well. Robbie handles it pretty well. The team in general is just kind of worried about her more than villainizing her. Great. Different than the conflicts we've had with Tori being in Cobra Kai before. But, you know, Johnny having this conflict with Daniel makes no sense, because they were seeming like they were coming together. They saw how both of their skill sets coming together works well. So to have Johnny be so against and butting heads with him this whole time, and kind of wanting to be in charge and not have work together with Daniel, but work next to him, is just gumming up the works. And then we also have Chosen, who's just kind of in this alcoholic, embarrassing state because things didn't work out with Kimiko. And so he's not there to kind of be the balance between the two of them. So it's just a hot mess. And so I feel like Johnny and Daniel's beef felt the most kind of fabricated to get them back to where they were when the show first started, and it didn't feel like it was earned and in that moment. So obviously Johnny does come to his senses, but even before, you know, as you know, I think before the drama even happens with Carmen and the baby, he is calling Daniel, leaving this voice message apologizing. And he does have a really good moment with Devin when she confesses to him.
Yes, he does.
And he really shows a lot of maturity in how he handles that situation. He's like, I'm not going to tell everybody. I'm going to let you decide how you want to tell everybody. We all do things we regret. Thank you for talking to me. And, you know, I'm sorry I pushed you so hard. The only reason I did is because I saw something in you. And they have a nice hug and a great moment. And so, yeah, Johnny showing maturity in other scenes in other ways. And I appreciate that. Him calling Daniel and apologizing. But yeah, I think his initial frustration with Daniel from the start of this tournament feels like it was, where's this coming from?
Yeah, it does. It was something that didn't need to be in these 5 episodes. I mean, I feel like the fact that this 6th season is 15 episodes anyway, split into these 5, these 3 parts of 5, is a little bit too much like filler things and unnecessary conflict going on that we don't need to see again, just for the sake of drawing the whole show out a bit more, getting, you know, 3 little spikes in viewership rather than 1 for Netflix. And maybe that's me being cynical. Look, I'm still watching it. I'm still enjoying it. I'm still getting invested.
I am. And I'm like, I don't understand how they're doing it, how they're still making me care and be invested when they're kind of doing a lot of the same stuff and treading some of the same ground. I mean, like I said, they have found at least some nuanced ways to deal with these things, but generally a lot of it feels like just rehashing. So I guess it's just because they've made us really care about these characters that
Yeah, I mean,
despite
which they have.
despite them kind of knocking their heads against the wall and doing the same things, we still care about them enough to, like, be frustrated when these things happen. But yeah, I mean, again, I did like throwing another dojo into the mix that where there was conflict. So the Zara girl was causing conflict with Tori and Robbie and their relationship. Um, and also kind of just very a dominating force in terms of the fighting and those kinds of things. And the Axel character, I liked Sam having this moment with him and getting to see her kind of like have a team up uh fight with somebody. So her and him kind of
Yeah,
fighting the Cobra Kai guys through Barcelona, her having like nice conversation with him kind of getting the wrong idea about their relationship and now being antagonistic to Miguel because of it.
yeah.
Um really interesting dynamic. So I liked throwing something new into the mix. We also know Sam to have had a kind of cheating situation.
Mm,
Um
very
with
much so.
kissing Miguel when she was with Robbie and that kind of thing. So, um, yeah, the fact that, she didn't kind of tread that ground again, because I don't know, when she first kind of defended him to her teammate at the beginning, did we think it was going to lead to something, or did we think it was generally just her kind of trying to not prejudge somebody? So it was good to see her not kind of tread old ground of cheating on Miguel now,
Yeah.
after cheating on Robbie, and it's like this whole thing. But him kind of it affecting him in a weird way that causes a different kind of rivalry. So yeah, it was good getting some new blood into the mix as opposed to it constantly being Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai back and forth and back and forth.
I mean, I don't know what else we can talk about really in terms of these 5 episodes. Obviously, there is only the 5 episodes as well,
Yeah.
so story-wise, we've covered pretty much everything that actually happens in
Yeah, I think
in the
so.
5 episodes, haven't we? So I guess we will end today's Cobra Kai season 6 part 2 live stream, the Brawl of Barcelona, by questioning how on earth this show actually does come to its end.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. We actually didn't talk about what Kim and Chosen having a little
No, we
thing.
didn't talk about that, did we? Actually, yes, that was odd. Fair
I mean,
play, chosen.
I kind of saw it coming once they were both kind of looking for the kids at the different places, and that kind of
Chosen's a
back and forth.
crazy dude.
And the fact that they ended up just kind of hooking up on the beach and having a thing. And Tori point blank asking her, like, you gave up all of this life to do this. Like, was it worth it? And
Mm.
her kind of having a bit of a hesitation, but then saying absolutely. But like, do you really believe her? So yeah, I
Well,
like
it
that
was
we
all
got
her grandfather, wasn't it? Her grandfather
yeah,
was
exactly.
Creasy's and Silver's sensei.
Exactly.
So
So I do like that we got more from her, that she got more to do comedically. We got to see her fight more, actually.
we
We got to
did.
see a more human side to her, that she's also kind of frustrated with Kreese and like, you're just tarnishing my grandfather's name for your stupid rivalries. I'm here to fight. I'm here to teach these kids. Like, what is your problem? We need to
Yeah.
focus. So we got to see a bit more of a human side of her, and she got more to do. And I really liked her. So I'm glad we got more of her, just to kind of throw that out there as kind of the
Yeah, I would
last thing
agree.
that we didn't really discuss. And her and chose and have this kind of fun, comedic, romantic, ridiculous
Yes.
energy together, which I think works nice. And nice to see Chosen get out of that drunken. It was just hard to see him be all
It was
miserable,
hard to
drunk, and
see.
embarrassing Cobra Kai, and ugh. So
It
I
it
liked,
was it was hard to see.
yeah,
I only asked the question of how the hell this show ends because I
yeah,
genuinely don't believe I have an answer.
yeah. I mean,
I
where do we go
it's
from here? Does the competition continue after that? Does it not just get shut
I
down?
don't think the competition can continue, and I think it seems to be. I mean, this is always the way, isn't it? This is the structure of television of this kind.
Mhm.
It seems like the only logical place is for professional youth karate to end worldwide. now. You know, there's a complete national, worldwide ban, international ban on youth karate because of a death at the Sakai Taikai due to a breakout brawl that
Yeah.
happened. But it won't be that, will it? Because the end of this show will be
It
like,
has to end
karate's
with
the
some
best thing ever.
yeah, it has to end with some kind of resolution between these fighters, because that's what the show does. So how does it end without resolving it in that way, showing who's the best and
Terry
all this
Silver.
kind of thing?
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be so great if he just like
John Kreese killing Terry Silver and then being invited to the LaRusso Lawrence. I forget what Miguel's last name is. That's annoying.
Diaz.
Diaz. The LaRusso Lawrence Diaz Thanksgiving dinner. That's a bit, because they'll all be one big happy family at the end, won't they? They will. Let's call it, but they will. They'll all be one big happy family. It's just, where does Kreese and Silver lie in it all?
Yes. How do they resolve their conflict? How do the dojos resolve their conflict? What happens? So somebody dies live on TV in this tournament. How do we handle this situation? The tournament, I don't think, can continue, but it was such a big part of this finale. So how do we keep the fighting there and resolve it with the bad guys going off, our good guys winning the day, and still get a good finale, end of series fight out of all of this without it being problematic?
Yeah, and how do all the kids still actually think positively about karate in any way?
Yes.
Because surely as well, I don't know, is Daniel going to want to tell people that Miyagi killed his opponent?
I don't know.
Is he going to want to tell anybody that? Like, and we must all realize that people are human with faults, and
they're going through things.
Idolize anybody.
Yes, because like I said, you have to kind of take into account where Miyagi was in his life, lost his family, probably angry at the world kind of mentality, and just kind of took that out on whoever he needed to take it out on. And that's what made him become this really peaceful oriented man when
and to be the better
Daniel
man, we must forgive things like that. We must forgive
Yes.
Miyagi for his brutality in his youth. We must forgive Kreese for his brutality. We must forgive Johnny, obviously, who we forgive anyway, generally. I mean, we must forgive Terry Silver. No, we can't be forgiving Terry Silver.
Yeah.
Terry Silver.
So, I mean, maybe the ending will end with them, Kreese and Silver, taking each other out, or the two of them wanting some fight with Johnny and Daniel and Johnny just being like, no, we're done with you. We're not giving you what you want. And them just being incredibly pissed that they cannot get that fight out of them that they want.
Yes, but I just think there has to be absolute definitive finale with Terry Silver himself. Kreese, I'm fine with. Like, we can keep Kreese around. I'm all right with that.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It was his knife that caused the killing.
He didn't kill anybody, though. He might have been.
I know.
He might have brought a knife, but he was allowed to bring the knife. Nobody said anything about. There was no security that I saw that stopped him bringing the knife in. There was knives for sale. The Sakai Taikai.
But I mean,
there was martial arts knives and weapons for sale there on the little convention floor.
Yes, but who knows if it was a thing for the floor to have those there? And he was probably was he gonna kill Terry Silver with in backstage? Like, was that his plan?
I would have liked to see that happen. It would have got me on John Kreese's side more.
Well, what I think is going to happen is Julie San is gonna come and make all of this right.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hilary Swank will come. Miyagi. Yes. And she can give him some insight. She's going to come and give Daniel the insight that he needs about Mr. Miyagi, because Mr. Miyagi told her something, or the monks told her some things about Miyagi. Yes, the monks are going to come back and they're all going to go bowling. And that is how it's going to end.
I'm happy to end this entire stream with that thought. Dear Karen, you are exactly right. We will find out
on Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. God.
So
Spend your
it's gonna end with
Valentine's Day
love. It's gonna end
with
with
your
love.
loved ones. Oh, it must do. Spend your Valentine's Day with your loved one or your significant other watching the finale of Cobra Kai.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for another fun Cobra Kai live stream.
Yeah.
As we say, it's always exciting and entertaining to do this. Thank you for those who dropped in the chat. We
Yeah,
had a
thank
nice
you.
active chat today. That was
Mhm.
always fun to
Yeah.
have. Of course, if you do enjoy this, if you want to see more of what we do here, subscribe, ding the notification bell on this channel. We're up there for all the fun stuff we have. Subscribe to the main It's a Wonderful podcast feed for Monday Madness Morgan hasn't seen, and the main show It's a Wonderful podcast Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. It's all been scrolling down at the bottom of the screen. Anyway, you can support us on Patreon or donate. Follow the links. Find us on the social medias that have been scrolling down the bottom, as well as Blue Sky, which actually isn't on the bottom now. We are over there as well. At It's a Wonderful One, and at the Purple Dawn for me. At Janine Devine for yourself over there, Janine. Anything else we have to say? Does Cobra Kai never die? I certainly hope it does.
Yeah,
actually, by the end of this, and Miyagi-Do lives forever.
Yes,
but with the realization that Miyagi is not God.
He's not perfect.
Nobody is. Nobody is. Janine, go ahead. Yes. Count us down.
3, 2, 1.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Karate.